If you're just tuning in for the first time, welcome. This series tells the mythic origins of the Dungeons & Dragons multiverse, starting from the very beginning. I highly recommend going back to episode 1, where we explore Ao, the one above all, and how everything began. But if you already have a steady footing in D&D lore, feel free to keep listening, because today we will dive into chaos, in the truest, most cosmic sense. Before time had a name, before even the gods began their rise, there was nothing but raw, formless potential. An infinite sea of opposing forces, a primordial maelstrom of fire, water, earth, air, and the energies that bind them together. I am the voice of the realms, and this is Lore Untangled. After Ao, the Overgod, split the original universe into separate planes when he created the Twin Tablets of Fate, two core realms formed. The Astral Sea, representing order, divinity, and thought, the home and birthing place of most of the gods, and the elemental chaos, representing primordial, untamed energy, the realm of the Primordials. This elemental chaos was not the tidy system of elements you find in most game mechanics. There were no neat planes of fire or water, only a swirling, violent storm of energy, where mountains boiled, oceans burned, and storms carved valleys into flame. And from that storm, from the unshaped fury of reality itself, rose the Primordials. The Primordials, they were no gods. They were not worshipped in temples. They did not grant spells or answer prayers. They were forces of nature with intent. Volcanoes that could speak. Earthquakes with wills of their own. If gods are sculptors, Primordials are wildfires. They create, destroy, reshape, not because they choose to, but because it is their essence. The Primordials awoke. They were creatures of instinct. They built worlds like children building towers, and then tore them down without care. Some were cunning and strategic, and others were simply storms given legs. But they all sought the same thing: dominion over the chaos. These Primordials created lesser beings, elementals, some intentionally and others by accident. Elemental princes who managed to claim dominion over aspects of this chaos. Now, amidst all this violence and madness, something rare happened. A moment of balance? Yes, the first world was created. Whether this was by accident or divine inevitability, the Primordials created something stable. A world of floating islands, crystalline peaks, rivers of lava, and ice side by side. Not the material plane as we know it today, no. This was its precursor, and for a time, the Primordials ruled over it. There was this strange, chaotic harmony. As the chaos cooled and stability emerged, 4 great genie civilizations rose from the elemental storm. Unlike their primordial ancestors, these built empires, cities, cultures, while they still feuded with one another, and even rebelled against the Primordials. Across the veil, in a tranquil stillness of the Astral Sea, consciousness took form. Gods emerged, entities of ideal, purpose, and design. Some say the gods were born in response to the chaos. Others say they existed, hidden until creation required them. The gods looked upon the primordial shaping and saw potential. They descended and began to cultivate, giving form to the lands, planting life, guiding the stars. They intended to preserve and protect the land. Born from ideals, justice, love, ambition, and death, they looked upon the first world not as a battlefield, but as a canvas. They shaped forests, created animals, and seeded the world with life. They dreamed of mortals who would look to the sky and wonder. The Primordials, seeing their playgrounds altered, grew furious. To them, the gods were usurpers. The Primordials attacked the gods' creations, destroying the creators and what they had created. But the gods refused to stop, believing they were the ones stabilizing the multiverse. Thus began the Dawn War. Primordials descended upon divine creations, unmaking what was shaped, splitting mountains, drowning valleys, tearing suns from the sky. In response, the gods forged mighty servants, angels, archons, and exarchs, and they retaliated. The war engulfed the planes. Stars collapsed, planes cracked, and countless early races were destroyed before they could rise. The war had an immense toll on those that fought and survived. The once noble angel Asmodeus, commander of the divine justice, grew bitter and harsh in his tactics. During the battle, he slaughtered several mortal armies believed to be corrupted by the primordial taint. When the gods judged him, he rebelled, casting down his halo and creating the 9 hells, a twisted reflection of divine law. Asmodeus claimed dominion over infernal law, justifying his cruelty with bureaucracy. He became the first devil, and many of his followers fell with him. Of all the Primordials, there's one that needs special attention in this podcast. One who saw an opportunity to claim dominion for their own and took it. Tiamat. In some versions of the myth, she is a goddess. In others, she is a primordial. But either way, she was born from the elemental chaos. A 5-headed storm of greed, fury, and destruction. When the gods descended from the Astral Sea to shape the first world, many primordials saw it as an invasion. But Tiamat was cunning. She joined the gods, not out of loyalty, but ambition. She led her chromatic dragons into battle against her fellow primordials. Her betrayal helped the gods win, but she demanded a kingdom in return. When she plotted again, some say to raise dead primordials, the gods were not amused. They cast her down. And today, she lies imprisoned in Avernus, the first layer of the 9 hells, feared even by the devils, and her whispers are still tempting mortals and dragons alike. The end of the Dawn War was signaled by the action of one of the gods. Tharizdun, god of madness and entropy, found something outside of the multiverse, a shard of ultimate evil. In an attempt to end all creation from both the primordials and the gods alike, he planted it in the heart of the elemental chaos, hoping to forge a weapon. Instead, it corrupted the chaos, birthing the abyss. From the abyss crawled the first demons, chaotic horrors who fought both the gods and primordials alike. Now the war had a third front. Tharizdun's creation corrupted the chaos forever. The gods turned on Tharizdun, imprisoning him in a void without time or space, but the abyss remained seething. The gods used divine relics and began binding and destroying the primordials and the abyss. Some primordials were shattered and sealed in crystal prisons. Others were forced into slumber beneath the world. A few fled to the far reaches of the multiverse, wounded but vengeful. Among the imprisoned were Imix, Olhydra, and Ogremok. These were trapped in ruins or in weapons. Some say even the hearts of volcanoes. And without the power of these primordials, the elemental chaos calmed down. The elemental planes of earth, fire, air, and water were born. They were stabilized from the remnants of chaos. And on each of them, the elemental civilizations formed around the genies thrived. On the elemental plane of fire, the Ifriti built a city of brass, perhaps the most famous elemental city in all of D&D. It's depicted as a vast mercantile hub surrounded by a sea of lava. The Ifriti are known for arrogance, cruelty, and slave trading. Their empire is militaristic and imperial, often seeking to dominate other genies and lesser beings. On the plane of air, the Jinn inhabit the palaces of cloud, crystal, and song. Jinn are whimsical, proud, and hospitable, but also easily offended. They have been known to form alliances with mortals or grant boons to those they respect. Their rule is more elegant and enlightened than the Ifritis, but still hierarchical. On the plane of Earth, the Tao reside in a vast mining empire called the Great Dismal Delve. They value wealth above all, especially gems and precious minerals. Tao are selfish, greedy, and deeply suspicious of outsiders. Their society is harsh, but industrious, with constant digging and expansion. Lastly, on the plane of water, Merits rule underwater courts filled with poetry, drama, and decadence. Their capital, the Court of 10,000 Pearls, is said to be the most beautiful structure in the elemental planes. Merits are the most aloof and mystical of the genies, obsessed with artistry and personal grandeur. The abyss was chained, and the gods set out to restore what remained left of the battlegrounds. Though the war never truly ended, its fires cooled. The gods returned to the Astral Sea, and the elemental chaos still churned, but its fury was spent. The abyss was deep, but contained by the effort of the gods and devils alike, but still rotting the edge of creation. Then formed the material plane, shaped as a neutral ground, a new attempt at balance. Along with it came the Feywild and the Shadowfell, formed as reflections, light and dark echoes of the reality, and mortal life rose again. The gods gifted knowledge, form, and magic to the new peoples. Elves, dwarves, humans, dragons. But beneath the mountains, in the ocean deeps, and in the secret rifts, the scars of the Dawn War remain, in lost weapons, buried titans, and demonic whispers. So, how does this translate to your campaign as a DM? Well, there's a few things you should remember. The gods represent ideals, purpose, thought, and belief. The Primordials represent existence itself, power without direction, creation without meaning. Their war was not just physical, but also philosophical. Do things exist to be shaped, or simply to be? This tension still echoes in divine versus elemental conflicts in modern campaigns. You can perfectly use Primordials for epic level threats. I mean, Imix and Ogramok appear in 5e Princes of the Apocalypse. Tharizdun remains the ultimate hidden god. Even in the modern era, there are still cults to the elemental chaos. The most infamous is the cult of the Elder Elemental Eye. It's a group devoted to Tharizdun. Disguised as elemental worship, this cult spreads madness and entropy. They believe the Primordials will return, and that Tharizdun will lead them. You can see their hand in campaigns like the Temple of the Elemental Evil and Princes of the Apocalypse. Cryonax can be a terrifying presence in Arctic settings. Primordials can be trapped, slumbering, worshipped by cults or awakening, making them flexible for world-shaking stakes or ancient secrets hidden in your world's past. Maybe your players will find a way into the Brass City or need to ask favor of one of the untrusting Tao to help them move mountains. In our next episode, we'll turn our gaze to the gods and see who rose to power after the war, what conflicts divided them, and what happens when mortals enter the story. If you're a dungeon master or a lore lover looking to explore more of the topics covered in this episode, I recommend diving into The Plane Below, Secrets of the Elemental Chaos. It's a 4th edition adventure, a deep dive into the nature of the elemental chaos, its denizens, and its role in the Dawn War. If you're more interested in the 5th edition, you should take a look at Mordekainen's Tome of Foes. It offers insights into the Dawn War, Tharizdun, demons, and the divide between law and chaos. And of course, the Forgotten Realms Wiki, which is a fantastic online resource for connecting the dots across editions, exploring the gods, primordials, and the planes they shaped. You'll find more sources and links in the show notes. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If so, it would mean a great deal to me if you clicked the like button or shared this with some of your friends, left a comment. Making these is not an easy feat, and interaction with the community motivates me a lot. Anyways, thank you for listening. I was the voice of the realm. Your DM, Melt.